Hello, this is Don Milne. I'm making a video today to show you some of the differences between Fold3 and Together We Served, so you can decide which platform you want to use to save stories. Our first mission is we want to tell stories of all of the 421,000 plus Americans who died in World War II. And second with that mission is we want to make these available so that anyone can read any one of these stories at a gravesite. So there are two smartphone apps that are available to do that with. The first one is Find a Grave, which is a way we can access Fold3 stories. Fold3 and Find a Grave are both owned by Ancestry, or Together We Served. Either one of those can get us to read stories on a phone very easily. Here's some things that I want to let you know about Fold3. First of all, it's owned by Ancestry.com. It's free to view. You get free access to research the premium documents if you're using the Stories Behind the Stars institutional account. Or I guess if you already have a Fold3 account, you have free access to those. It was recently upgraded in the fall of 2021, so if you've been looking at some screenshots from prior to that, it might look different than what we're showing you going forward. It is fairly easy to learn and use. The story section is pretty much, you can write it, cut it, and paste into Fold3 and you're done. It's going to work with the Find a Grave smartphone app as long as the Fold3 stories are tied to the Find a Grave URL. One of the things that would be a reason maybe not to do it is that there's no third-party editing, which means if you write dozens and dozens or hundreds of these stories and something needs to be updated, the only person that can update it is you. There can't be someone else with access to the stories you write, which you may feel is a good thing, or you may think it's a bad thing. The other thing is with Fold3, there's multiple memorials sometimes. If you're researching someone, you may find them have 2, 3, 4, maybe more memorials on Fold3, all for the same individual. There's also no way for you to work as a group on individual stories. If you maybe have strengths in one area, you basically, once you're working on a name in Fold3, you're pretty much in charge of that from start to finish. And unfortunately, the Fold3, sometimes the search options are not complete. You might search for a name using a first and last name, and you'll miss that person's story if someone else had saved it with a middle initial, for instance. It doesn't always work out on the search options. Now, something also about Fold3 as relates to Together We Served is Together We Served memorials are hosted on Fold3, but all the content is created on Together We Serve. They have an agreement with Fold3 that I think it's on a daily basis. Everything that's on Together We Served is updated on Fold3. So that means that any stories you were to write on Together We Served are also going to work on the Find a Grave smartphone app, because they'll be saved into these Fold3 stories. One thing we do want to request is if you're working on Fold3, that you don't add the stories into the Together We Serve memorials on the Fold3. They're going to show up there, and you may have access to do that, but we want, if you're seeing a Together We Serve memorial, we want you to save content elsewhere and not to the Together We Serve memorial, because we want Together We Served content to come from Together We Serve only and not added onto in Fold3. On this page, I'm going to go over some of the details about Together We Served. So originally, this website was created so that people could do remembrances of those who served in the military as well as people that are still alive. We were adapting that for our World War II fallen. So in order to use Together We Served, you have to have a membership on Together We Serve. That's free. If you're former military or still in the military, if you volunteer to help with Stories Behind the Stars, you can join through your military branch you served in. If you never served in the military, we can still get you access to Together We Served. You will join in one of the branches, as a Stories Behind the Stars historian. Now, one thing that's kind of unique to Together We Serve that's different from Fold3 is it's siloed into the 5 separate military branches. So Army records are together, Navy records are together, the records for the Marines are together, the Air Force is together, the Coast Guard is together. They're not all in one location. So it takes a little bit of remembering, oh, this guy was in the Navy, so I got to look on the Navy branch. Or this guy was in the Army, so I got to look in the Army branch. It's a little more involved to learn and use. And we did a survey recently of people that are using both Together We Served and Fold3. We asked them on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy or hard is it to use? And on how hard it is to use, the Fold3 came at a 6, and the Together We Serve came at an 8. So rated a little bit more harder to use. There obviously, why would you do something somewhere harder? There's some benefits to this. There's only going to be one profile for each of the World War II fallen, so not multiple memorials. So on the Together We Serve smartphone app, you're only going to see the one profile because there's only one person being profiled. Whereas on Together We Served, the app might be looking for 4 or 5 more possibly different stories that are being linked. So a little cleaner version if you use Together We Served. There's going to be full group editing, meaning if you've created a profile on Together We Served and later on you don't want to be involved with this project, other things happen, or it's 10 years later and you didn't even remember what you did with this project. Because there's editing rights, someone can go in and if there's more information and a photo that's been found, or maybe there's a family member that wants to put information into this project, there's editing ability for that story to be updated with new information. That's not readily available on Fold3. There's extensive branch-specific search options, so you can search by many ways that are more accurate using Together We Served. And it's nice if you save it to Together We Served, it's also going to save onto Fold3. So either smartphone app, the Together We Served version or the Find a Grave Fold3 version, the stories that are saved via Together We Serve end up in both locations. So when would you want to choose Fold3? Well, if you're only going to write a limited number of stories, maybe you have a relative that was in World War II, didn't come home, and that's pretty much the only one you're going to want to save, then I would recommend that you use Fold3 because you don't need to or have a desire probably to take the time to learn how to use Together We Served if you're just doing one story, or even if you're using 1 or 2 stories. And maybe you're just super familiar with Fold3. I would still recommend that you look at the Together We Serve training material to see if maybe you want to transition to that. But if not, we don't want to lose having your stories or your participation. So that might be a reason you would choose Fold3. If you don't plan to add stories to a Together We Serve memorial on Fold3, then that would be okay too. As I mentioned earlier, we don't want people using Fold3 finding an existing Together We Serve memorial on Fold3 and add content there. We'd like to leave those memorials for people that are adding content on the Together We Serve platform that is transferred to the Fold3 version of the Together We Serve profiles. If you don't want to learn how to use Together We Serve, obviously if you still want to participate, then Fold3 would be the way to go. And you'd also want to be able to not mind making reasonable edits if requested. So if you do a story and a few months down the road someone notices something that was incorrect or there's new information, if you're the main person that's done a story for that name and there's new information, then it's best if that person gives it to you so that you can make an adjustment. They could always create that information in another story, but then we've got the same issue that I already have with Fold3 is we're going to have additional more than one story, more than one memorial on Fold3. When to choose Together We Serve? If you want to save stories in both locations at the same time, then that would be the platform to choose because they'll go on both Together We Serve and Fold3. And you'll also get greater resources. There's more tools. Also, a little bit quicker customer support. I know Fold3 promises to get back, but sometimes there's a delay. With Together We Serve, it's often the same day, and usually by the next day that you'll get a question answered. And because we have these edit features, we're able to allow others to edit simple things on the profile, so we don't always have to contact you if something needs to be fixed really quick. So there will be 2 versions of the smartphone. Right now you can use Find a Grave. It'll work with any Fold3 stories that have a source listed as the Find a Grave URL. And then we have a Together We Serve smartphone app. That works with any of the Together We Serve stories that we've been saving. These are both in their present state. You have to type in the person's name to find them. We're guessing and hoping that at some point in the future we'll have a version where the geocoding will work, that you're in the cemetery and you have the app open, and just because you're close to gravesite, the name will show up and you'll be able to click onto that to read the story. Or the other thing that we're hoping we'll be able to have at some point in the future is you can scan a name, and by just scanning a name, that story will pop up. That'll be more useful if you're in a section of a cemetery that has like a memorial wall with multiple names. Geocoding wouldn't be the best for that because you might have dozens and dozens show up, and the character scanning would be a better option to have for that. So those are the 2 different ways you can do the saving the stories for the Stories Behind the Stars project, and we're really excited that you're interested in helping us. The whole idea is we want to have these stories accessible for future generations, so it's not just those that knew these people or one generation removed from these World War II fallen, but for decades into the future. Anybody with a smartphone can go up to any of the 421,000 grave sites or memorials of the World War II fallen, and just by pulling out their smartphone, they'll be able to read their story. And it's only possible due to the assistance of volunteers like you. Our upcoming projects right now, our main focus is going to be on Arlington National Cemetery. We'll accept stories with people saving them either on Fold3 or Together We Served. There's about 7,700 stories that need to be written, and our goal is to have them done by Memorial Day of 2022. To learn more about how to write these stories, we have training videos and other content for both people using Together We Served and Fold3. So you'll definitely want to look into that training material elsewhere, because every fallen deserves a story. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your participation with Stories Behind the Stars.